11.2 is just around the corner, and all of you guys who play 36 different alts, well, you're probably trying to decide, what am I going to play for the next season of WoW? Well, if you're looking for the best DPS spec, we got it for you here. That's right, 11.2's best DPS specs are dominating on the PTR. Let's see what the best specs are going into 11.2.
Okay, Season 3 testing for the War Within is here, and we've gone deep on every single DPS spec. We've tested the major changes, hero talent trees, and all their tier sets, and how each class is performing right now. Today, we're breaking down the best DPS specs on the 11.2 PTR based on their damage output, how their tier sets are performing,
what do you guys
whether
think?
They're actually fun.
Quick pause. What do you guys think it's going to be? You guys think Rhett might be up there? Unholy Palette. They were the ones of last season, right? Maybe Shadow Priest, Boomkin, like these are the ones that were really good last season. Are they going to be again? Demon Hunter, maybe the best tanking spec. I don't know if they're going to be the best DPS. These are DPS only. So, yeah, Boomy, Windwalker, Monk. Let's see.
And then engaging to play. Just remember, PTR tuning is changing week by week, and we'll be testing everything extensively as updates roll in to bring you the most accurate, in-depth info possible. This is all to help you pick your perfect main heading to new season, so I hope you're ready. Before we move into the next class, though, a quick shout out to something that's made a big difference on how clean my gameplay is, especially through all the PTR testing, is exit lag. Usually, gamers obsess over, DPS meters, parsing high, stats, best in slot gear, but a lot of players completely ignore their connection to the game. I thought my setup was pretty solid until I started getting some lag spikes, frame drops, and a bunch of other nonsense, and it turns out my connection was taking pretty bad routes. Almost as bad as you guys and your Mythic Plus routes next season, alright? Exit lag will fix all of it. It reroutes the game traffic through, of course, an optimized path. No weird VPN stuff, just real infrastructure built and dedicated for gamers. I immediately noticed smoother inputs, more stable performance, and overall better flow of my game, which was awesome in a dungeon and raid environment. You set it all up in a matter of minutes and forget it ever even existed. Or if you want to go real crazy, you can tweak it yourself if you're a control freak like me. Exit Lag also's got a good deal
tunneling.
Now they got 50% off the annual plan and even 3 free 30-day keys that you can use yourself or you can give to some of your friends to share.
Nothing changes, Tide.
So check it out in the link in the description below or scan the QR code you see on the screen here. It of course helps support the channel. And listen guys, you'll feel the difference instantly in your gameplay from Mythic Plus or raiding. No more bricking keys, guys. Let's get some Exit Lag going today.
Oh really, Libor?
Those dungeons. Check out the link below and let's get back to some content. Starting off with the very first DPS, we got to talk about the Marksmanship Hunter. When it comes to Marksmanship, they got some...
So we were just talking about Marksmanship. I did not know this. Evidently, Marksmanship has a very high skill ceiling. Like, you can do huge numbers on Marksmanship, but, like, very few players can actually achieve it because it's actually a complicated rotation or something. So if you want a challenge, I guess, a challenge that has a big reward at the end of being top on the chart, yeah, Marksmanship might be the way to go.
These changes heading into the new season to smoothen out their gameplay. One of the biggest ones, though, is that every time you use Explosive Shot, it guarantees you lock-in loads now, which allows you to shoot instant aim shots. This also counts for Volley, which applies those explosive shots, which is their heavy AoE
Damn, look at those numbers. What
the
hell?
They also tied bad luck protection, so you'll constantly be getting those on your own. So in general, you're constantly shooting out explosive shots, which then will pop with instant aim shots, and the rotation is very smooth and satisfying. They also buffed up precise shots a bit, which we will talk about in just a second, because they just polished the hero talent tree Dark Ranger yet again. Pretty much whenever you use Black Arrow, you get trick shots in AoE now. Black Arrow will also explode for a bunch of damage with Bleak Powder, and also apply a dot to everybody in the area, so it only takes one Black Arrow to get your whole rotation going, and your damage will start ramping like crazy. This is mostly due to timing up your precise shots, which you get after using an aim shot, to pair it with Black Arrow. So the general rotation is that you would explosive shot,
so you want to get your explosive off?
Aim shot instant, because you get the lock and load. You explode it with aim shot, and consume the massive
instant aim shot
damage bonus with Black Arrow to explode everything in the area even more. It's as simple as that.
Instant aim shot reminds me of like an instant pyroblast when you're playing Fire Mage. It's a fun, satisfying thing. I've never played Marksmanship Hunter like in recent history. It was probably one of the first characters I ever made was a Marksmanship Hunter. But I have played Mage, and it sounds like that instant pyroblast.
This is a very straightforward and very fun rotation loop at the moment. One of your hardest hitting passives is also Phantom Pain, which duplicates your aim shot damage on people affected by Black Arrow, and it's just dealing so much damage. I gotta tell you, this gameplay loop of constantly using very hard hitting abilities, pretty much every global cooldown just shreds in AoE. It's some of the most fun I've ever had playing Marksman, and I love the gameplay style of Dark Ranger right now. The class theme is great. The additions they made to the rotation heading into the PTR are fantastic. The tier set is very effective. To put it plain and simple, ladies and gentlemen, Marksman is super fun. They're blasting right now, and their tier set is great. Next up, we have a spec that's been updated pretty much every other patch. We got the Shadow Priest. Now, there are some issues with the talent trees, I think, still, but
I just think in terms of lore, Shadow Priest should be really good for this next season. I mean, we're going to freaking Koresh. It's all voidy and shit. Like, if Shadow Priest is not good in this next patch, then it just doesn't make any sense. Like, we're going to the freaking Shadows. These guys got to be good. So, I mean, I'm glad to see them on this list.
I think still, but
although they were already good this season.
This recent rework was absolutely a step in the right direction. They updated a lot of talents, changed some abilities, but one of the biggest changes is that you now have 2 charges of Shadow Crash, which pretty much gives you almost permanent uptime on your Vampiric Touch, which of course allows you to keep up your heavy hitter with Psychic Link, which is great. Psychic Link will duplicate some of your damage to enemies that have Vampiric Touch on them, so you need this up permanently. Not only that, shadowy apparitions can now proc off of Shadow Ward Pain from a talent, and you're summoning a lot of those bad boys and they're hitting harder than ever, which is always fun. Also as Shadow, you get a brand new ability called Void Volley, which you can use after your Void Torrent, where, listen, right off rip, the damage really
it's the mage
isn't
ability.
That high, which kind of sucks.
Isn't that like Frost Orb or whatever it's called? You send that thing, it's exactly that. That's what it looks like, but a void version of it.
But it does give you some insanity, which makes your resource management much better. A big issue people have right now with Shadow is that all their capstone talents don't really deal any damage, which does suck. But all of them flood you with insanity, which allows you to use Devouring Plague constantly to keep up passives, like Screams of the Void, and get more procs from Mind Flay and Sanity, which is really fun. With tier sets for Shadow, honestly, this is where they really shine as one of the better DPS specs. The Void Weaver tier set is phenomenal. You get these massive entropic rifts that deal so much damage, and just having that combined with your Psychic Link, it equals out to like 40 to 50% of your overall damage, which is crazy. At the current moment, I think the spec has solid potential for both rating and Mythic Plus. I do think Archon can use a little bit of love because those 30-second go windows with Void Torrent and Volley, with your Entropic Rift and Devouring Plague, it's just so strong, and it's very, very consistent and a nice little gameplay loop. Don't forget, they also solved the Shadow Crash problem, which is great. So overall, I think Shadow Priest is in a fantastic spot heading to the new season, and personally, I really like what they've done with the spec so far. Bringing on our first melee DPS of the list, we surprisingly have the
Windwalker Monk, man. I feel like it's been a while since I've seen Windwalker as a top DPS. Who guessed? Somebody guessed Windwalker before we started. Jones, congratulations. Yeah, Windwalker Monk up here now.
Now, listen, this spec didn't get many changes, but I'm going to be upfront and honest. The tier set for Conduit of Celestials could be the most fun iteration of Windwalker I've ever played. It transforms your rotation into nothing but pure butter. It's so fast-paced and ridiculously amount of fun. You have a passive in your Windwalker Celestial tree that occasionally allows you to summon Yulon. When you summon Yulon, it increases your cooldown recovery rate of all your major damaging abilities, while also reducing the channel time of
puts you like in a lust form.
Your tier set allows you to get this more often by proccing it off of Slicing Winds as well, but it also supercharges you to give you 15% haste. When this happens, I like to call it Super Saiyan, because it quite literally ascends you into a god.
Sounds like you're going, it sounds like it's a mini lust, essentially. You're just lusting over and over again. That's what's happening.
Form your rotation
drops all your cooldowns.
You can have close to 100% uptime on all of this, making your gameplay some of the most fun,
that's a rapid
smooth, and incredible rotations I've ever played in my years playing World of Warcraft. I cannot express this enough. They did a fantastic job with this tier set. Now, something that is important to remember is that Windwalker is a little bit limited with their AoE cap. If you're pulling like 12 to 15 mobs at a time, they are probably going to fall behind some of those other, non-AoE capped specs in the game. So that is something to keep in mind. We also did do some testing with the Shadow Pan tier set. I do think it's in a decent spot, but sadly, it's just simply not as powerful as Conduit, and it's not even close when it comes to smooth and gameplay iterations. Don't get me wrong, I think the damage is starting to get there, and they did make improvements, but it feels a bit stiff. Overall, though, I think Monk's rotation from a straight gameplay standpoint is probably the best it's ever been, in my opinion, and it's a very fun spec to be playing right now with a very strong tier set. Okay, now you guys are probably going to hate me for this one, but Augmentation did make this list.
What? Augmentation making a comeback, boys. Reactivate your augs. Oh man, we're all getting buffed again. Look at that. Back to Dragonflight. Augmentation viable again.
I know they performed dead bottom of the barrel last season, but
Let's
this
see what he has to say.
Might actually be back in terms of Mythic Plus. The damage this spec is starting to deal is through the roof. I've tested every spec in the game, and the damage they're dealing on average for 5-target cleave is about 7 to 8 million DPS. Augmentation Evoker, after about a minute and a half, is holding 7 million DPS completely alone without buffing.
Damn, he peaked like at 11 million.
Its allies.
Without buffing.
Augmentation is dealing almost as much damage as everybody else without half their kit being used. This is all thanks to their tier set that causes them to summon
This is just their damage? This doesn't include the buff damage? If this is true, if they're really going to pump out this hard, everyone's going to start bringing them again for Mythic Plus. Like, they're going to become required again. Because they're going to buff everybody else, plus they're going to put out 8 million damage consistently.
Squadron of Drakthir to deal damage with them. This also causes their mass eruptions to deal even more AoE damage, which is phenomenal. These set bonuses alone are shooting them
Blizzard
up
doesn't hate
through the
augmentation.
roof, and your eruptions as an evoker equal out to like 30 to 40% of your damage, while the squadrons equal out to about 20%, and it's very, very juicy. Remember, this is all without buffing allies in Mythic Plus, so you can definitely see this getting out of hand. Don't get me wrong, this is still very early on the PTR, so I'm not really optimistic about this.
Devastation was being used. Devastation was one of the best DPS in Raid, too, but in terms of Mythic Plus, Augmentation was nowhere to be found.
Hitting a final build, but if they do not nerf this, they will be one of the best DPS specs in the game, hands down. I think Augmentation has a lot of issues, and I would prefer them just to rework it or overhaul them, or just buff them slightly in the personal damage department. But this seems a little bit ridiculous. If you enjoy Augmentation, sadly, like I do, you're going to like this spec a lot right now.
Good
so
for the
pray
Augmentation.
that I can make it out of the...
Required LMAO. Nothing is required for a 3K IO key and under. And look, you're not wrong, Dunzo, but people have this... they like to pretend. They like to pretend like they are one of the best players in the game and their S tier and their runs matter. So people run meta. People will run meta at a fucking 10 key. I don't understand it, but they will. They'll consider the meta, which is the stupidest shit I ever heard, because meta doesn't matter at that level. But yeah, people like to pretend like it does. So whatever the meta is, whether or not it's required or not, people will do it. So that's why this matters.
PTR alive. Next up, we got to talk about the other dot spec. We got the Affliction Warlock. Now, yeah, this could be the second season straight where Affliction does very, very well. And the truth of the matter is that Warlock overall has two of some of the better hero talent trees in the entire game. And they could fit in both Mythic Plus and Raiding, whichever one you'd want to pick. So not only are they powerful, you have flexibility in choosing them, which is really awesome. With Soul Harvester, the burst is nuts. And overall, it's a very fun rotation with you constantly using big procs and Malefic Rapture to just nuke everything around you. Personally, I would prefer them just turning Affliction into a proper damage over time spec, but them spamming Malefic Rapture, it's kind of what we're going to get right now. Other than that, the other hero talent tree you have is the Hellcaller tier set. And this allows you to put a dot on an enemy called Wither, which gathers stacks of blackened soul whenever you use a soul shard, and your tier set will pause these stacks being used and just continuously make them stack over and over again, which builds up to ridiculous damage over time. This is typically your go-to option for high-end raiding and very high-end Mythic Plus. It's very obvious that Soul Harvester is meant for those short burst windows for nuclear burst damage, and then Hellcaller is the long-haul fights that lasts like 45 seconds to a minute long, where you just pull a shit ton of mobs in a room. From a talent tree perspective, I think...
Shit ton of mobs? No, so he's saying multi-targets. I was trying to think which of these is better for Raid, which of these is better for Mythic Plus. I don't know.
Affliction is incredible, and amongst some of the best in the game by far. My gripe with the spec is that they still don't have a second charge of Vile Taint, which absolutely sucks because Shadow Priest got...
Vile Taint? That's what it's called? Man, I might want to try this. Trying to get an invite as a Beast Mastery Hunter. Good luck. Yeah, no, people, I'm telling you, people play the meta. They play it as if it matters at their level. Maybe they want to feel like they're important too, and meta matters, but it doesn't. For 99% of the player base, it doesn't matter. It only matters for the top 1%, but everyone pretends like it matters for them.
Shadow Crash twice, So just having that minor change, I think it would shoot this spec up to the moon, and I'm hoping they get something like that heading to the new season. Other than that, Affliction is doing fantastic right now. They have 2 tier sets that are dominating, and it's going to keep them at the top of the meters like they ended up in season 2.
Damn, he just stood in
Okay,
that
now
shit.
probably the biggest surprise on this
Survival
list,
Hunter.
we have the Survival Hunter. Survival got some...
What? We got 2 Hunter specs on here. Survival's a surprise. I knew Marksmanship was doing good because of just, you know, some of the stuff we just talked about this morning, but Survival...
minor changes to their talent tree
the melee
that really
hunter
funnel
class.
them into more explosive shot damage and wildfire bomb damage, which of course is a good thing. My main problem with Survival is that they don't bring anything that makes them stand out from the rest of the classes. I don't care how much you want to argue in the comments, this class lacks survivability that's solid and utility for the group. They don't bring half of what Rep Paladin brings, Enhancement Shaman brings, or even Death Knight brings. And in my opinion, that's a major issue unless this spec is just dealing crazy damage.
Oh,
well,
shit.
The good news right now for Survival is that they're quite literally doing crazy damage. I'm not sure if they had Gordon Ramsay at Blizzard HQ cooking up their tier set, but it is juiced to the moon. Pretty much, you get more damage on your wildfire bombs passively, and while Lunar Storm is active, your wildfire bombs deal 150% increased damage. Not only that, like we said a little bit ago, they buff their wildfire bombs substantially heading into the PTR. So at the moment, you're occasionally throwing out these wildfire bombs that make me laugh that hit for over 10 million damage per hit.
Oh my god.
I mean, the damage is absolutely so high, and it makes me laugh so hard whenever I get a crit on them. So when it comes to a tier set, I really like them. From a core rotational perspective, I enjoy them as well. I like the gameplay loop of building those tip of the spear procs and using it to enhance your
reverse survival to range,
like
please.
Explosive shot, wildfire bombs, Fury of the Eagle.
I mean, I don't mind survival being melee. It's another class fantasy people can play out. I mean, Legolas used to use melee weapons, right? Yeah, he used bow. He was a marksmanship hunter for the most part, but yeah, he had a melee that he'd whip out every once in a while. So I mean, hunters are capable of it in fantasy, and this gives them that fantasy. I've never played it, never been into melee hunters, but it's fine that some people who like it can play it. And evidently it's good.
It's a nice, fun back and forth gameplay loop that feels good. Just remember though, if Survival Hunter isn't dealing the damage it's dealing right now on the PTR, this spec is going to get overlooked like it's done in pretty much every season beforehand. I do not know if this is going to make it to live, because it's probably going to get nerfed, but from a damage perspective, this tier set is crushing right now.
Yeah, one ability that hits really hard like that could get nerfed, for sure. Survival used to be one of my favorite. I mean, the way I remember Survival back, I mean, I haven't played Hunter since like BC. Vanilla and BC is when I played Hunter, and Survival used to be strictly a PvP spec back then. Like, you didn't play Survival unless you were PvPing. That was what you did as a Hunter. So, now that I never really played it back then because I didn't PvP back then, and now that it became a melee spec, well, I guess it got more niche for some people. But yeah, I guess there are people out there who still miss the old Survival.
And the rotation is very fun. It makes them one of the best DPS specs in the game. If you're a Survival Hunter main, grab your Bible, start praying, and hope all this goes live. Now, another best specs list, another shot for Elemental Shaman to show up and shine. Now, heading into the new season, they didn't get any changes, really. And honestly, it's surprising, but this spec has gone under the radar through the entirety of the War Within. You have to understand, Elemental Shaman has some of the most utility in the entire game. They have knockups, interrupts, great CC,
I love it when they're good.
Raid-wide buff, blood...
I love it when anything Shaman is good, because their totems are so nice. It just feels great in the group to have a shaman around. Plus, you get lust. It's just a good time.
Lust, you name it, they got it. They also bring some of the highest burst damage in the game whenever they're in their Ascendance window. And if you combine both of those together with their consistent DPS across the board, overall, Elemental Shaman is in a good spot right now for Mythic Plus. When it comes to their hero talent tree tier sets, it's very apparent that one of them is meant for Mythic Plus, which is Stormbringer, and the other one is meant for raiding, which is Farseer. Both of these designs are fantastic right now, and they elevate the class's theme with those hero talents substantially better than where they were before. With Stormbringer, you get the occasional extra proc of getting into Ascendance, which shoots your damage through the moon and is always super fun. Your 4-step bonus occasionally calls down some lightning to deal some extra damage. It's not bad, but they complement the spec at what it's good at very well. It's simple, easy to understand, and if you ask any Shaman player out there if they want more Ascendance windows, they're going to say yes every single time, and I'm honestly all for it as well. I would say it's probably the most fun cooldown to press in the entire game. Now, when it comes to the other tier set, the Farseer tier set, this is fantastic for Elemental in a raid environment. It really embodies what this hero talent tree is all about. It's about summoning your ancestors to come into battle and assist you in dealing damage to enemies while copying some of the abilities
telling your
that you
ancestors to
cast.
come?
The tier set allows you to summon an additional, even stronger ancestor while also making Lava Burst on a lower cooldown and make you cast your abilities faster. So it can get to the point where it's out of control. You have sometimes 4 to 5 ancestors out at once, all of them copying your Lava Burst and Elemental Blast abilities, and it feels so awesome, and visually, it's epic. So listen, overall, Shaman has 2 really good hero talent trees for both Mythic Plus and Raid, easily some of the best utility in the game with very fun burst windows.
I love it. I love it when Shamans are good.
DPS outside of those windows. Obviously, it makes sense that Elemental is one of the best DPS specs on the PTR right now, hands down. Moving on to the emo boy, the Demon Hunter. Now, listen, they didn't get any changes heading to the new season, but that doesn't mean you should overlook this spec. To put it very
I don't know what it is. Blizzard just has a thing where, like, Demon Hunters have to be viable every single season. Have Demon Hunters ever, since the conception of them, since Demon Hunters have joined the game, have they ever had a season where they're not viable? I don't think so. I don't remember there ever being a season where, like, everyone's like, oh, we can't play Demon Hunter this season. They're always fucking good. Yeah, finally Demon Hunter. I mean, you knew it was going to be on here. You knew it.
Well, their tier sets are amongst
it's
some
like
of
Blizzard's
the best
contractually
in the game,
obligated to make
their
them
numbers
good.
up by a mile. In particular, though, I'm really enjoying the Felskar.
You're right. This is their DPS version. Yeah, the other one's tanking. I know. Yeah, between the two, okay, one of them's always good, but they're so different because one's a tank spec, one's a DPS spec. I just feel like, but there's one of them's always good, at least.
Our tier set. It's all about buffing that immolation aura and giving you a nice 20% damage increase.
The emo
hunter.
So
if you combine that with your inertia window, which gives you an 18% damage increase, you have like a 38% damage bonus during your really big burst windows when you pop into Metamorphosis and you're getting those demon surges off. You're getting those eye beams off. You're getting the Rage Fire passives going. And it's just fantastic. Not only that, Felskar is... Listen, it's pretty damn simple. So if you're a player who wants something straightforward, I mean, Demon Hunters are easily one of the best options out there by far. When it comes to Eldrazi Reaver, I do think there's a fantastic amount of potential there if you know what you're doing with Demon Hunter. This spec can probably do some stupid numbers. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm some Demon Hunter connoisseur, but I was still doing some crazy number with this spec. It's just a lot more complicated compared to Felskar, where I'm just going in there and I'm blowing shit up in uncapped AoE, which is really fun. So overall, Demon Hunter, they didn't get any changes, but both their tier sets are amongst some of the best in the game. It's a very straightforward spec that's not that difficult to learn.
Yeah, I mean, the big rumor is, yes, they could get Void Demon Hunter, and if they do, I bet you it's going to come out, it's going to pop out and hit the ground fucking running. Just like when they introduced Augmentation mid-expansion, and that shit became like a necessity to bring everywhere. I guarantee you, if they bring Void Demon Hunters in before the end of the expansion, they might not. It might be like a pre-patch to midnight or something that you actually get those, but if they bring it in now, I mean, it's going to pop off. It's going to be the best. It's going to be one of the best specs. I'm telling you. We need a new tank spec soon. Yeah, we were supposed to get that with Tinkers. They didn't even bring them in. I thought we were going to get Tinkers during the Undermine patch, and they were going to have a tanking spec and a mech suit. It would have been badass, but we're not getting that. I do agree. We do need another tanking spec soon.
Damage is there, and you'll have a great time playing either one of those specs. So Demon Hunter is looking great right now. Let's just hope they get that third spec soon. I'm still hoping on that Void spec for you guys. Lastly, but certainly not least, we have my main
Destro
class,
Warlock.
the Destruction Warlock. Now, this spec didn't get any changes heading the new season, but it really didn't.
2 Warlock specs.
It was near the top of the leaderboards.
So we got, right now we have 2 Warlocks and 2 Hunters like sitting in the top 5. So he's saying it's going to continue. We're going to have 2, in terms of raid at least, we're going to have 2 Warlock specs again.
At a time for Mythic Plus, as well as rating, and overall it's in a pretty damn good spot. I'll say up front that Diabolus, the hero talent tree and tier set for that, is garbage right now. It's absolute hot dog water. It's terrible. It feels unusable for destruction and single target rating, Mythic Plus, whatever. I think it needs a complete overhaul. It's that bad. However, though, the Hellcaller tier set is phenomenal and amongst some of the best in the game. It really dives into the strengths of destruction so well and makes this spec so much fun to play.
Splash damage.
And I guarantee this spec is going to dominate heading into the new season with this tier set in both Mythic Plus and rating. The rotation of the spec is simple. You Cataclysm to afflict everybody with Wither, which is your hero talent tree ability.
Oh my god.
Demon Fire to increase the duration of Wither.
Hold on, that's like 20, almost 28 million DPS. He's just dumping it right here? Shit.
You pop your Infernal and then go about your normal builder spender rotation, and you're stacking up those blackened souls.
Damn,
now,
30
with
mil
your
now.
tier set, when you activate it, you get a bunch more blackened souls, but it also
crazy AoE
causes
damage.
you losing your stacks. And as a destruction, you get these very, very often. So to put it plainly, ladies and gentlemen, this tier set is going to absolutely slap, and it's going to be one of the best in the game. Mark my words, if this does not get nerfed, Destruction can absolutely be one of the better DPS specs in the game.
Look how he's catching him.
It does suck, however, that there is only one hero talent tree build option right now, with Diabolus being that bad. But Warlock is my main, and I'm going to be honest, I do think it needs to get nerfed a little bit because it seems a little bit broken.
It's crazy high.
I love the structure right now. The rotation's great. It's interactive. The tier set's dominating. Great spec overall. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap up the best DPS spec so far after testing on the PTR the
Don't
last
worry, they'll
couple
nerf
weeks.
it.
Of course, this is all subject to change over the next few weeks, and we will be keeping you updated on what's going on throughout the week. So if you're interested in all things Season 3 of The War Within and beyond, hit that subscribe button because we got a lot of content coming your way.
One last note we wanted to make. If you're looking for
the
a
guild. Yeah, join the guild.
Through Mythic Plus with, or
join their
go
guild.
to the guild tab and search so you can actually see us. Either way, though, if it doesn't work, you just use the Discord link in the comment section below.
Do it.
Hop in there and verify.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, nice. Okay, join their guild. Interesting. So, yeah, they're going to nerf some of this. Yeah, they're going to nerf some of it. But I will say one common theme, it looks like, across the board that we can take from this video is Blizzard wants to make tier sets great again. You know, I hate to, the fucking old cliche right now. Everything's great again. Well, you know what? Like, they try to do it. Because this last season, everyone keeps saying it, that the first two seasons, tier sets just felt like, it's just increasing some stats. There's nothing great about it. This time around, though, the hero talent buffs and everything that tier sets are giving, it looks like if your tier set hits really hard, if your tier set bonus is mega pumped, it looks like you're going to be one of the best classes going forward. So, nice video. We'll see how all this pans out once the patch actually hits. But so far, I think it's a good stacking of what the best DPS classes are going to be in Season 3.